on this beautiful, feels like spring day. Welcome home. There is in this place the possibility of healing, repair, of making things right within ourselves, between us and the wider world. We gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.
Welcome to Wedgwood this morning. We are glad you're here. If you're here in person, we're thrilled you're here. Whether we can see you watching or not, welcome. We're glad you're here. If you're watching later in the day of the week with the live stream recording, we're glad you chose to spend some time with Wedgwood Church today and hope that you will be back. Our topic is being welcoming, being a welcoming community and kind of self-reflecting on ourselves. Are we doing and are we who we say we are? So this morning, our prelude is one we've used before and we sang together and we were in the building. So try to sing along if you can. Enter, rejoice, and come in. That's a happy, welcoming song to get us started today, I think. And don't be afraid of some change because we are in a time of change at Wedgwood for the better as we move into the future. And now Liz has a few announcements for us.
Thank you, Melba. We do have just a few announcements of upcoming events. Today is the first part of our two-part series, Are We Who We Say We Are? And today we're going to be focusing on the extravagant welcome. And next Sunday, we will be focusing on our core values. And then on Sunday, March 17th, County Commissioner Arthur Griffin will be sharing his message of the Good Samaritan. The following Sunday, March 24th, will be Palm Sunday. And then the final Sunday in March, we will be celebrating Easter. Our Social Justice Book Club is going really well. Our next meeting is Thursday, March 14th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. We are reading The 100 Years' War on Palestine. If you would like to join us, please read through page 123. If you haven't read that far, that's fine. You can still participate, but the book club will be discussing through page 123 at our next session. And Melba, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. Just a few updates on some social justice activities that Wedgwood is involved in. Monday night, the Palestinian community gathered at City Council requesting a resolution that they support a ceasefire in Palestine. They had some marvelous speakers. I was so proud of them and a great turnout. While I was there, there were two speakers from the Jewish community, and I was able to talk to one, and then he connected me with the other one through Facebook. And they are working on starting a group here, Jewish Voices for Peace. And I let them know that, you know, we are interfaith, we welcome all people, and we talked about that, and that we are here to support and help them any way we can, out front or behind the scenes. Let us know if there's anything or what we can do to support them in getting that organization formed.
Great, thank you, Melba. So mark your calendars for March 12th at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. We will have our next strategic planning session. We also will have our church business meeting. On the agenda, we will be discussing a name adjustment. We will also be discussing some marketing plans, a laundry project, and our film festival. So a lot of things to discuss. And to have your voice fully heard at that session, you have to be a member in order to vote. And we want everyone's voices heard. So we want everyone to become a member so everyone can vote on the things that we're going to be discussing. There's a lot going on. As Melba said, we're in a big year of transition, which is exciting. And we want you to be a part of that. So if you're interested in becoming a member and joining Wedgwood, please reach out and we'll get you squared away. It's very easy to join Wedgwood.
Let me finish. I froze up there.
Oh, no worries. Go ahead.
I think you heard me say I met two gentlemen that are trying to start a group, Jewish Voices for Peace here in Charlotte. I told them we wanted to help any way that we could, either in out front or behind the scenes. Just tell us how we can support them. They are getting death threats, so it's been difficult for them to speak out. So I had a good discussion with them. And the Moral Poor People's Campaign went well yesterday, I think in Raleigh, and our Xavier spoke. You can see some posts that are on our page, and we're going to be talking about some more things that Wedgwood can do when we have our planning session on the 12th.
Thank you, Melba. Yes, a lot going on. And connect with us to make sure you know about all the things that are going on. We have a presence on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. We encourage you to like and follow our Facebook page, as well as join our Facebook group. So there's two things on Facebook. You can also visit our website. We keep that updated. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can also email us or call us. But our newsletter, I would say, is one of the most important things if you want to stay up to date with what's going on at Wedgwood. If you have questions, oftentimes that could be answered by reading the newsletter. So if you're not getting the newsletter and you want to, let us know and we'll get you squared away. It typically goes out Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, but usually on Thursdays every week. And we are here to help. Connect with us at any time. Wedgwood has a few folks you can reach out to. Melba is our ministerial coordinator. I am the community outreach coordinator. Ashanti is our music coordinator, and Ryan is our technology coordinator. And as we go through this time of transition, and there's so many things going on, we need your support. So as you feel so moved, we appreciate your financial support, your sharing the word of Wedgwood in the community. There's lots of different ways to show support, but if you'd like to show support financially, we'd appreciate it. You can mail your donations. You can use Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle. You can take your phone and scan the QR code, and that'll take you to our website where you have a few different options to donate, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And before we have our extravagant welcome, one thing I'd like to miss saying is that we will have that social justice segment every Sunday morning. If you
Melba, I think you froze up again. Well, I think what Melba was trying to say is Melba, you froze. Do you want to say that one more time?
we will have that segment every Sunday morning for you to share too, things you've been involved in or things that you know of coming up. If you know of something, share it with us.
Yes,
And now,
please do.
Thomas, our extravagant welcome.
We are all welcome here. Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equality, and the care of Mother Earth.
We are all welcome here.
An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy.
We are all welcome
here.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders.
We
are
are
all
welcome
here.
here.
Like Jesus, we focused on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
We are all welcome
welcome
here.
One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story.
We are
all welcome here. And now we come to our time of celebrations and concerns, and I want to celebrate again that Connie Green Johnson is back with us. We are so happy to see you here on Sunday morning, and hope that's going to become a routine again now that you're feeling some better. We have a list of things this morning. Naj has had difficulty this week. Ashanti, can you update us on Naj?
Yeah, Naj. I guess when you have not I guess when you have MS, there's all you get lesions, and the lesions are inflammations, and the inflammations of parts of the body where it leans on something else and then causes another problem. So she had a muscle spasm in her thighs and her legs and her feet, and everything just sort of curls up like a Charlie horse, but 20 times worse. So she had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital, and they gave her medication and gave her an MRI, and there was a new lesion in the sciatic area, which was causing that spasm situation. But she's back home now and feeling comfortable. Always better to get back home, and we just got to continue to pray that that the no more lesions will come, and that she can still live a good quality of life.
Laura and Jim are traveling this morning to Washington, D.C., so safe travels for them. And for Jim's sister, who is having spinal surgery at Johns Hopkins. So healing thoughts for them. And of course, as we all know, Laura's family has just been overwhelmed with challenges, I'll say, this year. So let's just keep lifting them up. It's just been kind of one thing after another for them. I have mentioned before my friend Hazel, who is entering hospice. I found out yesterday a stepdaughter from a former marriage she's about 50 and has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it's gone into her liver. So they're sending her to some other specialist, but that's not a good diagnosis. Her name is Elisa. So if you will keep her in mind. We want to remember the delegates. The group that we are part of is called Apartheid Free Communities. And we have a delegation from apartheid free communities that have gone to Palestine. They left last week, and today they are in a service in Bethlehem with other churches and worshiping with them today. So let's keep their safety this week and as they return home in mind. But they are there today. I'm not sure what time it is there, but they were going to the church in Bethlehem. Manolo with the bakery is back. He has returned from the Ukraine after a very successful trip of going to help with the baking and baking bread for them. And he, in one other trip, he built a bakery there to try to help them and taught them how to bake bread to have some food. So he has returned and had a wonderful trip there. Are there others that I'm not aware of? Connie?
I just heard 5 minutes ago that I have many play daughters, and my play daughter Janice Robinson just lost her cousin sister 20 minutes ago. She decided yeah, it's funny. I've lost lots and lots of family members and family. So that's what I was doing when I was if you saw that I was doing something. She just sent me out a text. So do lift up Janice. I don't know whether people know her. She's very
I know her.
She lives in Valentine, but Janice Robinson, cousin, sister, has just passed about 15 minutes ago.
Yes, I know Janice, and we'll be sure to remember her. Any
My
others?
eyebrow healed up without complications.
Yes, that's a celebration. That's a celebration. And you look great.
Well, thank you.
I don't see any battle scars, so.
I gotta go to the barber again this week.
Okay, you
Take
look
a
good.
whack at it.
Any others? I don't know. We can celebrate or we can lift up my son in Canada. They got 10 inches of snow last night. So I don't know if that's a celebration or we need to pray for him. But
Does he enjoy the weather in Canada?
he does. Life goes on. Now, he said when it's like it was snowing all day, and he said, I shoveled once and Mom looked at it and he showed me through the phone. It was all covered again. But it was beautiful. It's beautiful watching, but I don't know if I want it in March or not.
Now, does he work from home or does he have to go out in it?
He works from home,
Okay.
but he does have to go out in it to take his son to school. Schools never close.
You know, when I sent when I lived in Wilmington, Delaware, when I sent my oldest daughter to Spelman in Georgia, and the other daughter to Greensboro at Bennett, they said, "Mom, just a little bit of snow. They closed the school, and this is on a college campus." I never did understand that.
Yeah, they laugh about our experiences with snow here because when I was up there this winter, it was minus 36 Fahrenheit, and my son was and snow, and my son was getting up, starting the car, and he says, "Mom, I've never loved heated seats so much in my life." Uh, and taking him to school. So life goes on for them.
When I was in Iceland, I swam in the Blue Lagoon. It was 36 degrees also.
I saw that picture of you and I said, "Oh, Connie."
There's, I have to tell you the story after that, but I won't share it this morning.
Okay, we're going to get you to speak about your travels. I'm going to talk to you about that. Any other celebrations or concerns?
Well, we're celebrating Miss Connie's back, and we see her face, and she looks fabulous. That's a big
Absolutely.
celebration. That's
Absolutely.
a big celebration.
You're just partial, and you're just partial, okay?
I want to celebrate the people that have bothered to vote in the primary elections, the early primary, and those that
Yes.
haven't. I want them to show up on Tuesday, and I'll be working the polls at Eastway Middle School. It's a 18-hour shift, so
Wow.
yeah, I may take.
I'll be working all day, starting at 6 o'clock.
Yes,
But,
right, 6 o'clock to 8.
The turnout has been dismal. I just
Yes,
don't understand it. No matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, we should
right,
be voting. And,
right.
and the turnout, I've been volunteering at early voting at Matthews Library, and it's just been dismal.
Yeah,
How sad. Well, the elections is something we all want to keep lifting up.
Yeah,
right.
because I mean, certain groups have tried to, try to stop people from voting. So
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I won't call names. I'll just say certain groups, okay?
But we all know who we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But we welcome them anyway.
Exactly. And love them and forgive them. I
Absolutely.
actually pray for them.
Absolutely. Any others? All right, in the spirit of Wedgwood, we'll have a few moments of silence. If you believe in prayer, please use this time for prayer, use it for meditation, use it for just self-reflecting on how we can be better people and change this world that we're in, or just a few moments of quiet, if that's what you need. We'll have a few moments. Amen. And this morning, our words of wisdom come from my favorite translation, the First Nation version of the Bible. I just love reading their version, and it comes from 1 Peter 4, verse 8, First Nations version. Above all, never stop loving and caring for each other. For like a warm blanket, love covers a great number of broken ways. That to me is just, I can see it and I can feel it. Love, like a warm blanket, covers so many broken ways. And Hebrews 13, verses 1 and 2. Keep loving each other as brothers and sisters of the sacred family. Do not forget to be kind and welcoming to strangers, for in this way some have welcomed spirit messengers without knowing it. Welcomed spirit messengers without knowing it. And as I thought about this and our extravagant welcome this morning, I thought we were all strangers to each other at one time. None of us came here already knowing each other or growing up with each other. We were all strangers, and we were all welcomed into Wedgwood with opened arms. And evidently, we all felt that extravagant welcome because we've stayed. I know I certainly did. And to me now, this group is family. I mean, this is more family to me right here on Sunday morning than my bloodline family is to me. And so as we think about that, you know, we just, and being a welcoming community, we all came here at some time and were welcomed with open arms by strangers. So we're talking this morning about our extravagant welcome and what it means to us and what part really speaks to us, or all of it speaks to us. And open to suggestions on how we can better live up to this extravagant welcome. It's a little more difficult on Zoom because we can't get that personal handshake or fist bump, or we don't get their information when people are visiting because they're not signing into a book. So we've got some challenges in being as welcoming as we want to be when we are on Zoom. But we have a wider audience on Zoom that we can welcome from all over the country. And we've had people from Arizona. Connie, we had a woman that lives on the Indian reservation in Arizona. I believe it was Choctaw. And she came many Sundays, and she's been away for a little bit, but we need to get in touch with her again. So we can reach such a wide group of people. But as we look at the extravagant welcome, the question this morning is, what part really speaks to you, and what does it mean to you, and what does it say? And I'm going to just go ahead and start off with the part that speaks to me the most is to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders. As I grew in my faith, I was raised, as Liz says, on the Jesus train. Jesus was everything. Jesus was the one. And as I grew, I began to realize there are other people who I can follow as well. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, so many people that I guess you could say are role models that are worthy of looking at how they lived their lives and what they did to change the world, because they were living out what Jesus said. And I think that's where we are at Wedgwood. And that's why that means so much to me. I want to be in a church that we don't sit around in Sunday school classes and talk about Mark for the 10th time, read the book of Mark and discuss it. But we go out and do. And that's the kind of church I want to be in, where we are embodying and doing what they say. I said one Sunday, we all know the story of the woman at the well. We all know the story of the mass being fed with the bread and fishes. But where are those people today, and how can we help them? And let's go do it. Let's don't just keep talking about things and go do it. So that's the part that means the most. And at one point we had a group that kind of were wanting to take over, and they wanted to take that part out. And I spoke up, and I think Liz did too, and said, no, that's why I'm here. That section right there, I can find other welcoming churches, but I want a church that's doing what Jesus said and what Martin Luther King said and what Gandhi said and Buddha said. I want a church that's not talking, but doing. So that's the part that means a lot to me. So let's hear from everybody as your thoughts on our extravagant welcome. Anybody, just speak up.
Well, my thought about Wedgwood is when I met the minister, we were looking for a place to have our Democratic women. And he just automatically just gave the key to the church and said, whatever you want to do is up to you. But we decided not to go to Wedgwood. But I grew up, the other feeling for me is that I grew up in a United Methodist family. I have about 5 or 6 cousins that are PhD theological educated folk. And when I moved to North Carolina, I was turned off by so many people making judgments on human beings about what their lifestyle is. That's not what God, for me, portrayed. And you don't have to live in a mansion. You don't have to drive the best car. It's about love. And I didn't see a lot of that. I saw it talked about in a span of time. But as soon as they left the building, something else transpired. And that just kind of turned me off. So I stopped going, period. But my mother, before she transitioned, asked me to find some place that I would embrace, because I've always volunteered one way or the other, and I always felt I needed to give back because my mother was a good example of that. So Wedgwood was the place that I found, and I'm sorry that I have just been impacted by a lot of family moments and experiences and trials and tribulations that I had to really devote most of my time and energy to them besides travel. So.
Right. I have a newcomer's perspective on the extravagant welcome, and I'll just tell you what my first reaction were. 2 parts of it. One is the thing that Melba talked about, that phrase, which I think is a wonderful phrase, but I'm a little bothered by Jesus and the others. And so I wonder if it would be possible or helpful to list some of the others, a couple of the other spiritual leaders, to make it more inclusive, whether that would be Dalai Lama, Muhammad, Confucius, Buddha. I don't know who, but what it does, first of all, is it says this is a Jesus-focused congregation, Jesus and the others. So that's one thought that you can accept or reject. The other phrase that stands out that I've thought a lot about is the last phrase about personal stories, which I would wonder if we would consider expanding that to say personal stories, expertise, and passion that you bring to the table, that we welcome all of those things, because personal stories as the source of our knowledge is limiting to me. So those are 2 thoughts I had, and I'm not particularly wedded to either of them. So, tear them down, reject them, go on to something else. That's my newcomer's thoughts.
I love both of those, and I've had similar thoughts, especially in terms of, Jesus and other spiritual leaders. When it took me a long time to work up the nerve to even come to a place like Wedgwood, which is one of the most liberal places I've ever been to. As Melba said, I grew up very much on the Jesus train in my family, from preschool to children's choir, youth group. I did handbells, youth choir, catechism, all of that stuff. And then in college, I just had too many questions that nobody could answer. And I got really tired of being told what to think, how to think, and how to think it. And so I left the church for about 11 years, really kind of deconstructing what I believed or what I was told to believe. And I moved to Charlotte in 2014 to go to grad school. It wasn't going anywhere. But I'd heard of Wedgwood. Folks had told me about Wedgwood. Because I had some friends who were in this organization called Transcend, which was started in the basement of the old building. And I brought clothing to they had like a clothes closet for trans folks so they could, try on different outfits and things. And I was like, okay, if a church has that, that's pretty cool. Still wasn't ready. Because it still was a very, very Christian church at the time. It still has some Jesus-y moments here, but it was even more Christian still at that point in 2018. Or in 14 through 16. Then I moved away, and then came back for work in 2018. I was like, okay, I am not Christian. I don't ever want to be Christian again. That is not my path. But I miss having a spiritual home. And I looked everywhere and I was like, okay, the closest thing that I could find to what I'm looking for is Wedgwood. It's not perfect and it still isn't, as you mentioned, Thomas, like there's still a lot to do, but it was like, it's the closest I feel like I could get to right now. So I went to a service and was arriving just as like Sunday school was getting out and before the service was beginning. And I have to confess that I almost turned around and left, because the choir was practicing and they were singing a very Christian Jesus-y song. And that was very hard for me because of where I was at in my journey. But the preacher at the time, Chris Ayers, stopped me and welcomed me. We had a conversation. And he said, stay, because we need more people like you to set things off center, because you have to be off center to grow. And I could kind of swallow the Jesus-y bits because of the other pieces I got, but I've stayed for, going on 6 years now, because we have moved in an even more interfaith direction. And that's a huge reason why I stay. And Thomas, I think you bring up a very good point about, we've moved in such a far direction, but the extravagant welcome has actually changed very little. And so maybe it is time to look at some of the things that are in the extravagant welcome and give an update. And, because we actually don't talk about Jesus that often. We will read the Bible and other things, but, we have a quote from the Dalai Lama on our website. So let's mention all these other leaders and thought makers that we do draw from. So yeah, I think Thomas, I'm kind of with you in that thinking. I think it's time to maybe, update some things as we're on this path.
I don't think it's a good idea to try and be encyclopedic.
No, but that doesn't mean we can't update, because it is still
I
very
agree that
Jesus-y.
we could do an update, but to try and mention all of the leaders,
We could mention a few and then say, and others.
Yeah, I don't think that's what Thomas was insinuating, is we need to list everybody else, but the
Or
way it's
change-
written right
or
now, it
change the-
centers Jesus, and that is not who we are.
or change the primary name from week to week. So one week we could have Muhammad, another week we could have the Dalai Lama, another week we'd have Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The only
well,
thing
I look
about
forward to
that,
exploring
when
that.
you
It's a good
start-
thing that we can explore, especially during our next strategic welcome or our strategic planning session. But yeah, I think it's, there's some tweaks that we can make.
The only thing
I was
about
raised in the,
name-
Well, I think
ahead.
Connie's trying to speak.
go ahead.
the only thing when you start to name people or different religious groups, you might leave out some. So I just know growing up in the Methodist Church, United Methodist, we stopped naming folk about being on committees, because invariably you're going to leave off one and you're going to alienate another because it wasn't deliberate. It's just that you can't remember to name them all. I mean, it is a large group of faith leaders.
Maybe we could find a way to word it that this not necessarily this, but in this way that just says, and all spiritual leaders
Yeah,
and personal spiritual leaders or something along those lines and not have any names there.
exactly. And it then becomes a little bit more inclusive. It depends on where everybody that's coming from that space would grab that one leader that had an impact on their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's think about that because I think Tomas has a good thought there that we need to kind of maybe update that part.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I grew up in the,
And it is a journey. It is a journey for all of us here this morning. I know
Oh, yeah.
I can speak. It's a journey. And it's just it's a journey.
It is.
Mhm.
And it's not over.
No.
We may be 70, 80 years old. We're still on that journey. And I know that things I believe today, in another year, I might change.
Exactly.
I mean,
like-
I certainly have changed my mind on the Israel-Palestine situation.
Oh, that I was
You know,
just going to
what I was taught, what I've been told, I believed, but I've evolved from that. So we're going to keep evolving from what we believe today. Don't doubt that you won't learn and grow. You will.
just to be open for change.
Yes.
Mhm.
I like the idea of just saying spiritual leaders, and that opens us up to people who worship the earth, who worship,
Yes.
who are Wiccan, who are Muslim, who are Jewish. Spiritual leaders, you put your own name into that. So I like that concept.
Mhm.
Let's bring that up for a vote at our meeting. We'll add that to the agenda.
Yeah, sounds good. I also
I grew up in
really
a Lutheran church in the northwest Iowa. And they never talked to each other.
Mm,
They talk at each other. And one of the things I liked about when I encountered Wedgwood was that people talk with each other, which was a novel concept. Sharing, personal stories or other, experiences.
mhm.
I walked away from any church around 1970 and finally came back around 2019. So that's like almost 50 years. And during that time, I was married to 3 very different women, 2 of whom died while we were still married. And the church never helped me at all. They walked away because they can't be associated with someone's dying. It's uncomfortable. And
Of all places.
I
what?
know.
Of all places.
Right. So when I accidentally found Wedgwood and I found people were talking with each other and it made me feel better, I stuck.
I'm glad you did.
Now, all during those 50 years, I had personal communications with the Lord, who helped me a lot in my career.
We haven't heard from Ashante. She's listening attentively.
I am listening. I came to Charlotte in 2016, and I used the word broken because I did feel broken and confused and sort of confused. And I was looking for a spiritual family. I wasn't in my life, in my childhood. We didn't go to church. We didn't talk about God, and I had questions about God. They would just shun me away because I had a lot of questions about a lot of things. So they shunned me away because I had too many questions, I guess. And so, so I never grew up in Jesus or anybody else. I did in my younger years. I went to the Nation of Islam. I liked that there because how they treated the women and how the women dressed, and they but it was taking up too much time. They talked about how important it is to be with your family and your family life and your family and take care of your family, and family's most important, but they were taking so much time from me. There was no time for my family, so I got a little tired, so I left there. The teachings were good, the information was good, and all that was good. I don't like when churches ask you for money to pay for like a minister's do something special for the minister's dinner, the minister's wife, something special with the minister, and you taking your hard-earned money and giving it to them, but they don't help you out when you need money for your electric bill or something like that. So that was going on there. They raised money for Savior's Day. Savior's Day is when Minister Farrakhan had a special day, and the money was going to him. So, and I would ask, why are we giving the money to him? He lives like in a big castle. Does he live in like a big mansion or something? Why are we giving him the money? And they, I guess that was like an insult to ask that. So I left there, but I was always looking for a spiritual, any kind of spiritual. It didn't matter if it was Christian or Jewish or just some type of connection that I understood God and the Creator. And so I came here broken, and I was just going to try anything. So I found the church. It was a black church. The music was amazing. That's what sort of grabbed me. The music was amazing. The preacher was really good. But again, we didn't get to say anything, and I heard gossiping in the background, talking about me and my daughter in the church, and right there. They're right there. I can hear them. They're right there. And so I didn't like that part. So it was a big, big church. It was filled and everything, but I still felt lost and lonely and by myself, and just lost and lonely and by myself in no direction. So I met Mary at a sip and paint, and was music, and I met Mary D, and we connected. And she said, "Come to Wedgwood," and I said, "Oh no, I don't want to go no another church. I'm done with church. I'm just, I'm good. I'm good." So I went to Wedgwood anyway, and it was a very warm welcoming. It was warm. It was welcoming. Chris was there. Big open space. It was just, the energy just felt good in there. And when I heard or read the Extravagant Wealth that was up on the screen all the time, what got me is that, not got me, but what stood out to me was that you can share parts of your personal story, and it didn't matter if you knew where you were going. It didn't matter your ethnicity. It didn't matter if you had mental challenges. It didn't matter if you didn't know what was going on. It didn't matter if you were confused. It didn't matter. And that it was okay to be here, because it didn't matter if you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what your faith was. You didn't know what religion. You don't know. You're just trying to find something positive. And that's what I was trying to do, find a spiritual food. Wherever that food was coming from, I just needed the food. And so when I came there, that's what I got. I got spiritual food. I got love. I definitely got support. And I've been here for, it'll be 8 years in May. 8 years in May. So Wedgwood is very unique. This Extravagant Welcome, never saw any church have any kind of welcome like that included so many different ways of different people. Never saw that. I brought my ex to Wedgwood one time, way back in the beginning, like 2016, 17 or whatever, but he trying to still get close. And I brought him to Wedgwood, and he was impressed with the Extravagant Welcome. He was impressed with all of the words. He's very verbal, intelligent man knows a lot of information. So for him he usually picks at things, but he didn't pick at this at all. He says, "I never saw a church that had this Extravagant Welcome, or saying that we're welcoming all these different people in all these different ways, gender, ethnicity, economic, mental challenges. People that have mental challenges, people sort of shy away. So be careful with him. Something wrong with him. He's a little slow or something. They might not even, talk to that person in church. But that's not the case here at Wedgwood, and that's why I'm still here, because they have been supportive of me for a long time and still is. So
Chris Ayers, when Wedgwood was doing the room in the inn for people, for homeless people to spend the night, most churches do it on Sunday night and then take them to uptown on Monday morning. Chris did not. Chris said, "No, we're going to do it on Saturday night. We're going to feed them breakfast." And Chris went over there and made homemade biscuits for them, because we want them to come to church. He said, people need to get over this thing of, "Oh, they smell bad. I don't want to sit with them in church." He said, get over it. And because he wanted them to feel welcome to come to the service if they wanted to. They could leave if they wanted to, but almost all of them did. And he said, Other churches are doing it on Sunday because they don't want them in their service. That's not Wedgwood.
Oh, wow.
So I will never forget that Wedgwood was the one church that did it on Saturday rather than Sunday. And that speaks to what you're saying, Ashanti.
Mhm.
And it says because of your gender, because of your physical and mental challenges, not in spite of, but because of.
Yes, and that's one thing that really drew me in because I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, but I have never once felt tokenized.
Right.
I've never once felt like I was, there for Wedgwood to check off a box. I felt like I was seen and valued and welcomed as a whole
As a
person,
person, yeah.
not just because Wedgwood was like, oh, we just want you to be here because we want to pat ourselves on the back because we have diversity.
And
That's
plus,
not actually,
Liz, no one knows your sexual identity when you walk in the room.
And
Oh,
who
yeah.
cares?
You know,
Yeah.
she's bisexual. Nobody knows
Who
that.
goes around asking people what they do in their bedroom? I don't get it.
Saying,
Oh, people
I
do.
don't get it.
that is not my business. No.
Yeah.
You might be surprised at what some of us cisgender people do in our bedrooms too. So they need to get up.
Listen, to each their own. But that speaks to the importance of this being like a home where it's, the saying is we are all welcome here.
Right.
But Wedgwood actually,
Walks the walk.
yeah.
Ryan told us one time, I don't know if he's still on or not, and we all got a laugh out of it, that the reason he came to Wedgwood was because we paid him.
I mean,
Ryan said that.
Then he went on to tell the story of how he felt in love with Wedgwood, became a part. He now speaks. He's on the leadership team. He said, I don't know if he's still on to tell that story, but when we said, why did you come to Wedgwood? He said, because I got paid to come.
No, he said it was a side hustle.
That was the best answer yet.
yeah.
That was at the meeting.
Yeah.
He said,
I hope we can continue to give credit. Chris Ayers did write this extravagant welcome.
he did, huh?
So I hope we continue to extend ourselves, and remember, we are on Zoom. We can't give those hugs, maybe reaching out in the week to people, texting people, you having a good week or whatever, or we were glad you joined us last week, come back. I mean, we need to be aware of that now that we're on Zoom. Connie?
Mhm.
I've invited my oldest, I have two daughters. My oldest daughter company transferred her back to North Carolina. And so I've been texting them and say, come on Zoom.
Yes.
They have not found a church.
Yes.
They just moved back from Alabama. Thank God they're out of Alabama.
Yes.
And she's only 3.6 miles from where I live.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I saw a thing on Facebook that said life begins when you leave Alabama.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So
know,
yeah, we welcome them. And we all sit here and talk, but remember, every single one of us came here because somebody said something to us.
Right.
Chris just saying to Liz, stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all came because, so speak to neighbors, speak like Connie does to friends, and people, let them know. There's no better witness for Wedgwood than us.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, Ashanti.
Well,
We'll
I
turn it
have
over
this
to
great
you.
song. I learned a new song in a couple of days. And it's called Stay Strong by Christian pop artist Danny Goki, who is amazing, has an amazing tenor voice. I love tenor males. So it's called Stay Strong by Danny Goki. We extinguish this flame, but we keep the light in our hearts with the message of love and justice, and taking it outside of these walls into the world in which we live in until we see each other again. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. Now go in peace.
I love the echoing of that sound.
Yes.
And this week in your newsletter, there will be